All right, now let's look at one of the most difficult concepts to grasp in college algebra, and that is piecewise functions. Think of it as piece, there's pieces to this function. So it's not just one function, there's different parts to it. Forget about the y's, I don't know where the y's come from. Maybe because you have to be wise in order to get this. So piecewise, there's two different parts. So as you see here in this graph, notice it's separated into two different sections. So how it works is, I want to find f of -1 of this function. First you need to do is look here. Where does -1 fit in this function? I see x is less than 0, x is greater than or equal to 0. Well, -1, of course, works here. So this is where my -1 goes. So now I need to look at this part of the piecewise function and plug in -1. So I have x squared, so in this case, -1 squared plus 1. So again, -1 fits here in this piecewise function, so I'm going to plug it into this part of the function. -1 squared plus 1. -1 squared, two negatives makes a positive, so it's 1 plus 1 equals 2. So what is f of -1 with this piecewise function? The value is 2. Now what about 2? F of 2. It is not less than 0, but it is greater than or equal to 0. So now I have to look at this part of the function and plug in 2 for x. So I have x minus 1, where in this case I'm plugging in 2 for x, and 2 minus 1 is 1. So what is f of 2? F of 2 is 1. I'm plugging into this part of my piecewise function. Okay, let's look at this piecewise function. Notice this piecewise function has 3 parts to it. This first part here, x squared plus 3, is where x is less than 2. This other part, 7, is where 2 is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to 4. And the last part, 2x minus 1, is where x is greater than 4. As you see here, this is what the graph looks like. Now, I want to find what is f of 3. F of 3, where does that fit in my piecewise? Let's see, 3 is not less than 2. 3 is in between 2 and 4. So I'm going to look here. And what is my function when it's in between here? Well, that function is 7. So f of 3 equals 7. And as you see here in the graph, when you go to 3, it does equal 7. All right, now let's find f of 1. F of 1, where does that fit? Is it less than 2? Well, it is less than 2. So I'm going to look at this part of my function and plug in 1 for x. I have x squared plus 3, where I'm going to plug in 1 for x. 1 squared is 1, plus 3 is 4. So what is f of 1 on this piecewise function? It is 4, because it fits in this part of the function itself, of the piecewise function. Let's see if I had something like 5. Well, 5 fits down here, so I'll plug in 5 for x. So you're figuring out where does it fit first, and then you're going to plug it into that function. That is piecewise functions.